Hello, my dear ones. A warm welcome to Jessica's Intuition. Welcome to the astrological forecast for April 2025. 2025. My dear ones, this is not a card reading, just as I said, astrological forecasts. I will show, using cards, what is astrologically in store for April, what will be coming our way, and I will give a few predictions as I see it. So the astrological forecast. Yes, unfortunately, I'm a bit late. I feel like I'm constantly behind schedule. Somehow I keep running. Constantly behind. I already felt this energy in March, this feeling of running behind. Yes, in April we still have this feeling due to the retrogrades of Venus and Neptune. Again and again. Perhaps also that we are running after things. And I have to be honest, I actually feel it. Yes, what can I say? I definitely have the feeling that I'm constantly running behind. We still have a lot of Pisces energy, as already mentioned. Venus, and also with Mercury. I always show you the cards in the camera. I love this perspective, so I will stick with this perspective for now. Exactly. As I said, Mercury and Venus have now gone back into Pisces. We have a lot of fish now. Energy that might bring us a little bit back into dreaming. Yes, and perhaps also into reflecting. And maybe it's also bring us a bit to rest, or that we should rest. Especially with this Pisces energy. Also, yes, I have to be completely honest. That feel free to share how you perceive it, how you feel it. I have to be completely honest. Yes, I feel it too. I know I am under enormous time pressure currently. Nevertheless, I have to honestly say that I keep thinking, oh, you still have time. Oh, this kind of... Yes, I am also quite calm, I must say, even though I am currently quite stressed for time. So the pressure is somehow there, and I think that's also this Aries energy that is also present. In the room, that pushes us a little, I would say, in the background. As we start into April, as I said, we have a lot of Pisces energy, but we also have a lot of Aries energy, I would actually claim. The sun is currently in Aries. By now. Neptune is also in Aries. And we also have Chiron, which is still in Aries. However, we actually have Mercury in Pisces, Venus in Pisces. We also still have Saturn in Pisces, and the North Node is also still in Pisces. So there are a lot of fish. There is still energy in the field, which might also, as I said, make us dream a little, hold us back a bit. And in general, I am really of the conviction that April is a bit of a relief, or we might be able to breathe a little easier. I have to honestly say, I actually had the feeling February will be tough. It was very, very tough for me, I have to honestly say. Then I thought, okay, March could be more relaxed. March will be great, I thought to myself. My season, spring begins. My birthday. I have my birthday in March. Aries season begins. But I have to honestly say, I somehow feel that March, I can't even say it was harder, but I somehow feel, looking back, March was quite exhausting. Also February, as I said, if I look back, feel free to check out the astrological predictions I made for February and March. Both are available. What I said there, whether it applies to you, looking back, I find there's always a tendency for resonance. Whether you simply see if it fit or not. It doesn't mean that just because the months are over, there's nothing important in them for you. You can always look back at any time. Now, I feel like we can't, but I actually already said in the March forecast that we can breathe a sigh of relief in April. April will definitely be more relaxed, and then leading into May as well. I have that feeling too. But I believe we actually have to endure April until mid to late April. Yes, Neptune is of course something I want to briefly touch on. I have already made the Neptune message. Neptune in the weather. Feel free to take a look at it. I will link the astrological predictions playlist down here in the corner. There you have all the astrological predictions I've made this year. I also covered the Venus retrograde there because it's really, yes, I find it very important as Venus retrogrades are not that frequent, and we actually have that this year. We are also in a Venus year this year. So feel free to check out this prediction for the retrograde Venus as well. And yeah, as I said, Neptune in Aries. I also made an astrological prediction about that. You can also find them at the end of the video. Down there in the corner, there will be somewhere a playlist where you can click and watch the previous videos if you like. Exactly, there are also videos from last year. Jupiter in Gemini. And so I left them and I found them very important. About that, though, more on that when the time comes, but as I said, you can also look back at them if you like. We have Neptune, of course. It's a long-term transit which simply brings changes with it that are coming our way, especially in perspective over the coming years. I would also actually say these are the stones, the foundations that we are laying now for the coming years. With him, I would actually like to add something as well. He is currently in Aries, so we are leaving it like this here, right? Venus and Mercury in Pisces. It's important to simply know in your personal horoscope where you have Pisces and also Aries energy. Feel free to check. I have a link in the info box below. There you can have your birth chart calculated. Then you'll also know where you have Aries and Pisces energy. Yes, and also which house areas, what this house represents, and where are there such significant endings right now? And also desires for major new beginnings for you. I would really just take a look at where you also have Pisces, because these are simply the two signs that are very important right now. Shall we go back to Neptune? So, it's really that what I mentioned at the beginning here, that I have the feeling we are currently capable of simply changing the frequency, changing ourselves, changing our path, and ultimately also where we want to go. I'll add the sun again. We also have the sun in Aries. Currently positioned. That's why I'll just place it up here as well. Yes, what I personally perceive in my own life are things that simply come into my life can come. So things that just come through dreams, through inspirations without me having expected them, actually, I must say quite honestly. And what I can also give you here as a tip, it can also be that it can come into your life without you expecting it, without you wishing for it. That can also be something that could come now. They can perhaps be wonderful for some and maybe even magical. So really such a magical energy. I also have such a feeling here. But they can, of course, also be very challenging. That can, of course, also be the case. Yes, I actually believe that there is now such an energy in the room with the topic of challenge, but also perhaps something like a reality check. Are you currently where you want to be, looking back again? Feel free to look at the astrological forecasts from the previous months again. I have mentioned this before, we are still in the retrogrades. Yes, I have this feeling that it's like a reality check again. What are you still dependent on? What can be let go? I would actually say regardless or dependent, maybe also on the horoscope, or also where we currently stand in our development. Everyone experiences this differently. What we are experiencing right now, especially April, brings a lot more clarity, certainly much more. Perhaps directions, especially towards the end of the month, as already mentioned. I also have a feeling here about how things should proceed now, or especially a certain urge to act as well. Yes, that's why I would also say no, that perhaps currently there is still a bit of, yes, spring has just begun, so there's still a bit of the energy that we might be held back, still on the brakes, maybe even ourselves. Yes, and I have this feeling, which might sometimes lead some people to frustration, especially because the renewed energy is simply there, this fire energy that we want to start something right now. The month of April has just begun, a fresh month. But I have the feeling that as soon as Venus and Mercury are moving directly again, and they will be moving directly aghat again in the middle of the month, so that a different energy will simply be in the field and will come to us. Yes, as already mentioned, Venus thus is the planet that stands for love, finances, and relationships. And Mercury is the planet that represents our mind and communication. We have here intellect and language, Venus, love and beauty, seeing the beautiful things in life too. Yes, exactly. I also have the feeling that it might be related to business for some people here. Yes, so everything related to entertainment and technical devices. These can all be areas right now. Or perhaps also interpersonal relationships for some, which might be a bit disturbed. So technical devices, also technical problems that are still present. This can also be related to pronunciation. As I said, also in love. Financial matters are somehow blocked right now. No cash flow or something like that could actually be the case here. However, I have the feeling that especially in these areas, we might also reflect, I believe, I would say it always has something to do with retrogrades, allowing us to look back into the past. What has been left behind? What do I want to adjust? What is allowed to change? And these are simply not times when we should be making decisions or signing contracts, because we assume that we do not yet fully understand things in their understanding or seeing clearly as a whole, because the Pisces energy is present again. Right? Yes, as I already mentioned, we might not have all the information yet, and that we might not have fully felt within ourselves yet. Pisces energy. This is simply the Pisces energy that is truly dominant right now. I told you, we currently have Mercury, so in Pisces, Venus was in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces. I have Saturn here somewhere too. I haven't unpacked it yet. That sounds like something. Saturn is also currently in Pisces. I can just add it as well. And as I said, we also have the North Node, which is in Pisces as well. Your life goal. So really still a lot of Pisces energy in the room. Also simply, well, I would actually say now, as I said, it is a very dominant Pisces energy. Just taking over now. As I said, especially now with the retrogrades. So now also as a tip for you, now in April, as long as we still have the retrogrades, take the time for yourself to reflect, to perhaps gain more clarity, to inform yourself anew, and also simply to lead yourself inward again regarding what also concerns your further life path. That's the feeling I have here. Beside you, as I said, for another 2 to maybe 3 weeks. Now also in April, as I said, at the latest until Venus is direct again. And Venus will be direct on the 13th. April at 3:02 a.m. Central European time, that is German time. But I think that on the other channels we refer to it as German time, Central European time, 3:02 a.m. Is it that I would actually take the time until then or until that point? Wait. So I think you can take your time until mid-April to be very clear about it, so that you know exactly how these things should ultimately look, or the next steps you want to take. That's just a friendly piece of advice, or from me to you. But that doesn't mean you should or have to do it that way. That would be it all depends on you. What you want. Let's say if it comes to the point where you might have to sign a contract, or if there's some kind of obligation you want or can take on, which is important, I also have, that's something where I would say maybe there's another way. Let's put it this way, you have to decide for yourself. It might be that someone resigns and has to sign a new contract. Make sure to look at it carefully. That's my advice to you. As I said, it's important to check thoroughly if this is still during the retrograde period. And yes, I also think, as I said, because this is still a time when we will reflect a lot and perhaps also revise things that we might realize in hindsight, in retrospect, oops, maybe it wasn't the right thing after all. That we want to change something, want to correct something. That's simply what the retrograde periods bring with them. And I have to be honest, I also take a look at myself. That during this time, I really selected a lot, even here on the channel. And then I reconsidered and thought, I don't want that after all. These are really the kinds of things where we think in hindsight, I shouldn't have done that. I really need to change that. These are simply the 2 retrograde periods we are currently experiencing. Where I would say, as I said, it might actually be that we want to act differently or think differently or approach things differently, that we sometimes need to reflect, as I said, on what has actually happened in the past, maybe for some of us. And that can be the recent past, or it can be the more distant past. As I said, for me, there isn't much in the distant past anymore because I've done a lot of work already regarding reflection and past issues. Of course, if something comes up, I definitely address it. But as I said, for me, it's often the recent past, indeed. But it can be different for everyone. So I feel like we're all going through this right now, each in their own way. This is really this cosmic energy that is simply present. We are going through a major transformative process, and that's just not easy. As I said, we will also change our opinions from time to time. Yes. Let's move on to the data we have for this month. That was my introduction, or rather, my main part, however you want to call it, that I wanted to throw out there to let flow into the video. We actually have from the 1st of April to the 16th of April, as I said, a lot of Pisces energy. We have Mercury in Pisces, we have Venus in Pisces, Saturn is also still in Pisces, and the North Node is also still in Pisces, as already mentioned. Then on the 4th of April, we have Saturn in Pisces, as already mentioned, a sextile to Uranus. I have laid the cards aside here. I'll show them to you once. Sextiles are always opportunities, are chances, and Saturn is also such a planet that wants to test us to see if we are ready for it. Uranus also stands for changes, new beginnings. Uranus is actually changing its sign this year. I find that very, 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 very exciting. I can't say it any other way. Uranus is currently still in Taurus. It is changing its sign to the sign of thought, essentially into Gemini. That will be very, very exciting. Also, when Uranus changes, but more on that later. I will make a separate video on that as well. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. As I said, you won't miss any videos here if you also activate the bell. There will always be new videos, especially these astrological videos. There will be more of them in the future. As I said, the sextile. Now, we have Saturn in Pisces. I'll show you that again. Saturn in Pisces. A unique style to Uranus, which is currently still in Taurus at 24 degrees. This also means a lot of reflection. What is present right now? What do I want to change? What should remain? But these are really the questions. Yes, I would actually say these are the strong energies, Jesores, that are still present or are in the field, that are now simply showing themselves, where we might want to change one thing or another, want to move towards changes. I also have this feeling here with the cards, when you look at them, that won't work at all. If I were to move the camera over like this, if it were over the table, then nothing would fit on it at all. I'll leave it open for now how things will continue with that in the future. Then on the 4th of April, Mercury goes direct again, still in Pisces at 26 degrees. We have that at 1:11 p.m. On the same day, also on the 7th of April, we have Venus, which is still retrograde In conjunction, these are actually always positive aspects, conjunction for fusion and energy. In conjunction with Saturn, which is also in Pisces at 25 degrees at 1:22 p.m. We actually had this energy already in the 3rd week of January. I'll show you the chart here. I'll just set the North Node aside here. I would actually like to tidy up a bit here briefly. Just in between, by the way. I'll also set this aside for a moment. Also the North Node. We just had that. As mentioned, Venus is retrograde in conjunction with Saturn. Both are in Pisces. And as mentioned, we already had this in the 3rd week of January. Looking back, what was happening with you in the 3rd week of January? The 3rd week of January, if we would see it like this, I'll show you that. The 1st week of January started on Wednesday with the 1st of January. And that is basically, even if it's not the complete week, it is the 1st week of January. That's when January started. So then we have the 2nd week of January, and then we have the 3rd week of January. The 3rd week of January. Goodbye. Sorry, I'm a bit confused because I want to tell everything at once. The 3rd week of January began on the 13th. January to the 19th. January. That was the week when we had Monday the 13th. January, the full moon in Cancer, and I started again with card reading that week. So this is indeed the energy, this conjunction that is coming. As I said, first Mercury will go direct again. And then we have Venus retrograde still in conjunction with Saturn, which is also in Pisces at 25 degrees at 1:22 p.m. Central European Time. I always refer to Central European Time, to German time. And yes, a lot has changed for me again, and it can indeed be the case. Look back and see what was happening with you. We will actually have the same conjunction again at the end of the month, but by then Neptune is exhausted again. By then Venus will already be direct. And yes, under this constellation we tend to take things too seriously. Perhaps also from the partner, expecting support from the partner in achieving our own goals. When we like someone, we are inhibited in showing them our affection. We possess good judgment, especially concerning material values. Laws and rules are important to us during this time. We are attracted to serious and sincere people. We have a strong aversion to disorder, and we have a strong aversion to vulgar things. Concerns in love and marriage could, however, arise. In extreme cases, it can lead to separation. Our internal strength for the moment, our strong pursuit of pleasure might also become noticeable, and our loose morals and tendency to change partners. Yes, I find it very exciting. We'll see what all is coming up. I'll leave it at that for now. And let's move directly on to the next one. I'll also place the cards up here like this. Then we have on the 13th, April, we have the full moon in Libra at 23 degrees at 2:22 a.m. Central European Time. This is a very, very important full moon. As mentioned in Libra, both sides win. This is also again the theme of balance. On that day, also on the 13th April, we also have Venus, which will go direct again. Again, it is still in Pisces, but as mentioned, it will then be direct. 24 degrees at 3:02. So shortly after Venus will, and so I think it looks a bit clearer. Shortly after, Venus will go direct. By the way, Venus is the ruling planet of Libra. As I said, this will be a very, very important full moon for us. And yes, I also have the feeling things will move forward again in relationships and partnerships, and also in finances, just that things will move forward again. Fly. As I said, maybe there was no cash flow. Maybe there were blockages. Or. I also have this feeling that boundaries, how do you say it? That boundaries are not drawn, but that perhaps certain boundaries, éclats, are opened. Only those that one might have imposed on oneself. And it can actually be a turning point for many on that day. My dear ones, I'm not finished yet. We have the full moon. 2:22 am Central European time. We have Venus going direct at 3:02 a.m. Central European time. And on that day, indeed, also on the 13th of April, we have another portal day. So anyway, full moons are energies that resonate before and after portal days. Also, shortly after, we have another portal day. We only have 2 portal days in April. What does only mean after all? And as I said, we have Venus going direct again. So these are really things. A lot will change. Mid-April. That's what I told you. Mid-April, at the latest, by the end of April. Yes, then as I said, on the 13th of April, as I said, we have a portal day. Then 2 days later, on the 15th of April, we have another portal day. These are energies that really oscillate quite a bit during this time. We also have on the 16th of April, we have Mercury. I'll just quickly set the cards aside. We have Mercury on April 16th. Mercury has already become direct again, going back into Aries. Going back into Aries also sounds good, so it means on April 16th at 8:12 a.m. Central European time and German time. Mercury will go back over 0 degrees in Aries. Mercury will be in Aries from April 16th until May 26th. This means that even when Saturn goes into Aries, Mercury will also be in Aries for 1 more day. Yes, that's right. That's just this fire energy that is present again. Then the mind is brought back to the point, I would actually say here, on point. When Mercury is in Aries again, it might also become sharper and faster, allowing us to enhance our intellect. Or the intellect is enhanced. We think constructively, focusing on concrete actions. During this time, we might also act more quickly. Quickly. Yes, even in discussions, we tend to express ourselves passionately and often. Perhaps very intensely. So the strong urge to act is also back in the foreground, and we have more clarity. That's what I told you from the middle of... It will definitely go uphill again. I am very happy about that. More clarity, yes, that's what I said. Then, indeed, a day later on April 17th, we have Mercury in conjunction with Neptune. Both are in Aries, and a conjunction means I am always exactly at 1 point. Mercury conjunction Neptune, both in Aries. Where do we have the conjunction? Here, as I said, it is a positive. A positive transit indeed. At 0 degrees, this all happens at 6:02 a.m. Central European time. As I said, this is always in the morning here in Germany in Central European time. In other countries, you just have to check from where you are watching. I must also honestly say, I have to interject here once. I checked on the other channels, on the Turkish channel, and indeed, in the past, not the upcoming, in the past 7 days, I always look back the last 7 days. It's actually only Turkey that is watching. We are now, because we also have the time change, 1 hour behind. That means Turkey is 1 hour ahead. So you always have to think back, or rather, yes, think ahead or just see how it is for you. On the English channel, it is actually mainly the United States and Canada, and there is actually up to an 8 to 9 hour difference ahead of our time. That's why I always say, see from where you are watching, see it where it fits your time. And yes, as I said, if I say 6 o'clock here, it might actually be, as mentioned, in the United States or Canada, either a day earlier or later. So I don't know. I'm not a specialist in that. I've lost track. You just have to check for yourself from where you are watching. And then I looked at the Spanish channel, and indeed in the last 7 days, people from Germany have been watching. I was a bit surprised by that. I absolutely did not expect that. I had Spain and Mexico before. Those were the viewers, the audience. Now neither of them is there. Now the Germans are there, so Germany. As I said, maybe there are also Spanish viewers here, but thank you very much for that. So it's the same time. Currently, I always look back a week later. I was very surprised. I can't say otherwise. So as I said, check from where you're watching. I always mention Central European times, the German times. So back to the topic here. April 17th, Mercury in conjunction with Neptune. Both are in Aries at 0 degrees. This is at 6:02 a.m. During this time, or rather on this day, we tend towards mysticism, and especially Neptune. While perhaps our artistic talents also come to the fore. We have romantic notions and maybe also build a few castles in the air. Not castles in the air, but wish castles. It must be something different again. Is it a new vision or is it also a new illusion? But that only lasts for one day. It won't be that long. It might resonate a little before and a little after. That's how I would actually describe it here. A duration of one day. Now, one event follows the next. Then we have on the 18th, April. I'll put the cards aside for a moment. On April 18th, my dear ones, Mars, that's my ruling planet. I'm an Aries. It's already moving directly now. I believe it became direct on the 24th. February became direct. That was the day when all planets became direct. Mars is currently in Cancer. On the 18th of April, Mars moves into Leo. That's what we all want. No longer in Cancer, he feels better in Leo. Yes. I thought I just read explosion, but it says extrovert. I read explosion. Well, okay. As I said, Mars has been direct for a while now. It enters Leo at 6:19 a.m. Central European time. It actually stays in Leo for 1.5 months. Yes, that's almost 2 months, actually. The intent of April to the 17th. Of June? That's a very long time. By the way, that's also Good Friday, my dears. We are just before Easter. The 18th of April is Good Friday. I also find it to be a magical day that comes along, in my opinion. When Mars is in Leo, we exhibit enduring energy. We are more passionate, fearless, and straightforward in speech and in writing. We feel capable during this time to take on a high position, but we can also be somewhat dogmatic and domineering due to being overwhelmed by our own desires, which might lead to disappointment. Mars also grants us a sense of responsibility, but we also demand recognition or to be acknowledged. Exciting. Yes. Then we have, I say, one event after another. On the 19th of April, we have the Sun. The Sun was here. The Sun moves into Taurus, my dears. Oh, into Cancer. I'm actually talking nonsense right now. Not into Cancer. Into Taurus. I had Taurus in mind, but I said Cancer because my mind is already elsewhere. But never mind. The Sun moves them into Taurus on the 19th of April at 9:55 p.m. Central European time, which is evening for us. The Sun will remain in Taurus until May 20th. With the Sun entering Taurus, a phase of stability begins. And the sensual enjoyment, the sensual, right? This earth sign demands or promotes the need for stability, comfort, and material security. It is a time to appreciate the simple pleasures of life and to act slowly but purposefully. The Sun in Taurus motivates us to go into nature or enjoy nature, to be mindful with our resources and to patiently wait for the outcomes of our efforts. Yes, that's naturally something where I would say Aries is still a bit impatient while Taurus is a bit more patient. So, for example, I could never be with a Taurus. They're too slow for me. Well, everyone as they like, but that would really not be for me. I also don't have Taurus anywhere in my chart, so I'm really out of that. Yes, That's the rhythm for now. Then we have, as I said, one event after another. The 20th. April. The sun is already in Taurus, as mentioned. We have a square there. That's a bit challenging. Squares are always a bit challenging. Not very easy aspects, transits. We have them with Mars. Mars is already in Leo, as mentioned. And that could, yes, be at 1 degree. It's also at 1 degree here. That could actually be the case. It could be challenging, especially the energy, stubborn versus willing to take risks. So not a good day for confrontations. Remember the day, write it in your calendar, 20th, April. Yes, then we have a few days of rest, I would say. Then on the 23rd of April, we have the sun. As mentioned, it is in Taurus, and that it will be a very, very intense day. The 23rd. April, remember that date. It will really be it will be a very intense day as well. But towards the end of the month, there will be another day that will also be significant. 23rd, April, the sun, is in Taurus. As already mentioned, we have square to Pluto. I just need to know where I have Pluto here. I haven't sorted out Pluto yet. Pluto is currently still in Aquarius. What is current? It will remain in Aquarius for the next few years. So it is in Aquarius. Not just currently, it is in Aquarius. Right? I have Aquarius here somewhere too. Yes, there it is. Pluto in Aquarius, at 3 degrees. So the sun square to Pluto in Aquarius at 3 degrees by 7:09 p.m. Central European Time. The square between the sun and Pluto is a tension aspect. Especially here, as I said, the square is a tension aspect. It can make us act rashly and presumptuously, especially Pluto. It can, opposition. Awaken our spirit of opposition and make us arrogant. We are not invulnerable. Be careful in traffic. Caution in traffic is definitely advised here. And excitement and disputes are in the air. So it will be another day that perhaps we better stay at home. That's another tip from me. But, well, it's just not that easy. Always. So, as I said, note the 20th, April, and also the 23rd, April. Those are 2 days where I would actually say, yes, be a little careful. And then on the 25th, April, we have Venus. That's what I told you. If I find it now, I've made such a mess here. I regret it right now. Where do we have Venus? It's wanted. We have it hidden here under Libra. Venus, which is direct, but still in Pisces. I've also messed up Pisces here again. Do we have a conjunction? Conjunctions are not so bad. They are actually only positive, or rather okay, the aspects of the transits. So as I said, we have Venus. That's what I told you. We had the Venus conjunction to, was that the one? I'm just thinking about it now. However, that was, yes, we had Venus conjunct Saturn when Venus was still retrograde on the 7th April. And now we have Venus direct in conjunction with Saturn. We just had that somewhere here, which is also still in Pisces. Both at 27 degrees, conjunction. That means the planets are always the same. Both at 27 degrees. That is at 2:01 a.m. Central European Time. Here, we really stand, so to speak. It will be a day where we will notice. Here we really stand, bringing clarity to where we are, yes, in order to move forward. Also, under these constellations, we tend to, as mentioned again, this is again the same theme of tendency. That's why I wrote it down again. We tend to take things too seriously. Expecting support from the partner in achieving one's own goals. When we like someone, we are, however, inhibited In showing them our affection, we possess good judgment, especially concerning material values. Laws and rules are important to us during this time. We are attracted to serious and sincere people. We have a strong aversion to disorder and vulgarity. However, worries in love and marriage might arise. In extreme cases, it can lead to separation. That's what I said. Venus in direct motion. As long as Venus is still retrograde, we look back into the past, and when it is in direct motion, we look forward again. And that's the energy where we also notice, hey, do I even want this anymore? This relationship, do I even want this job anymore? Little is certain. Yes, also for those, is it financially fulfilling for me at all? This becomes clear to us again here. And Saturn, that's someone who tests us. These are lessons, as I said, boundaries. Do you want to cross a new boundary? Do you want to break your own limits? And this can indeed be the case for some, as I said, we want to have a change of perspective. It can indeed be that we tend to want to separate in the partnership. Yes, that's it for the 25th. April. We actually also have, I wanted to mention this on the 25th, April. We also have a textile. I actually wanted to mention that here. Although it's not that important, I still wanted to mention it because I found it, and that is somewhat more important. We have the moon. It's not the full moon or new moon or anything like that. But we have the moon, which is also positioned on that day. It is positioned in Aries on that day because the moon moves quickly. That's why we often have full and new moons in different signs. The moon simply moves quickly. Every 3 days it is in a different sign. The moon is in Aries on that day. We currently have a sextile to Pluto, which is in Aquarius. We have this at 3:29 p.m. And this is between the moon and Pluto. It awakens our sentiment, our sentimental nature. We have a desire for adventure and extreme actions, and it actually fits with the day that we want. This conjunction of Venus and Saturn, that we want change there. We want to act extremely adventurous. Our emotional life is very pronounced. The desire to travel awakens. I find that very exciting, as I said, because simply the boat is back in winter. And as I said, this is again like this sextile new chance, a new opportunity that one might want to take advantage of. That one is just trending and then directly plan something else. The next vacation is booked or something like that. I can actually imagine. Also on that day, as I said, this is Central European time, 3:29 p.m. That is indeed something that for some might bring about a change towards the evening. Yes, now we come, my dear ones. Now I really need to bring some order to the table. Yes, my dear ones, so this is really a day that I would definitely frame and mark thickly in the calendar. The 27th, April. I need to quickly tidy up the table a bit here. Pluto can stay, Mars can also stay. Where do we even have Mars? Let's put the moon away for now, regain energy. Or rather, we do have the moon. But more on that in a moment. We'll get to that shortly. With what? Oh, about the moon? On that day, we actually also have the new moon, but we'll get to that shortly. We have the oppositions. I need to quickly tidy up a little bit. If you don't want to see this, you can feel free to fast forward. But this is truly a very important day. I would definitely frame it thickly in the calendar. Mark it thickly. My dear ones, where do we have Mars here? I have such a mess here that I no longer know where anything is. Mars, which is currently in Leo. We have an opposition to Pluto in Aquarius. And especially Mars and Pluto, those are always very, very difficult situations. Very difficult situations. How should I best start now? Yes, let's start like this. On the 27th, April, August 2025, Mars is in Leo. In opposition to Pluto in Aquarius, both at 3 degrees at 3:04 a.m. German time and Central European time. The war god Mars stands in this constellation opposite the ruler of the underworld named Pluto. And that fundamentally means nothing good if no one yields. This is, of course, a constellation that is difficult, and that applies to us as well. If no one yields, then all the negative traits that both possess can also come to the fore in us. For example, that we then have no reasonable arguments, are accessible, that we feel an incredibly selfish assertiveness, and that we are ruthless in achieving our goals and not only use our elbows. I meant to say unpack. Use. So it really is a day. We could even become violent ourselves. But the reasonable one yields. Always remember that experience teaches us. And we should also think about that during this time. It is a strong, aggressive energy. We might also be torn back and forth on that day. It really is a day. As I said, it's not easy. As I said, that's all. At 3:04 a.m., it starts on that day with European time. The moon then enters Taurus at 9:15 a.m. I'll place this up here like this. The moon enters Taurus at 9:15 a.m. on that day. But we don't have a new moon yet. It's not at 0 degrees. Taurus helps us with money and or what we call money and preserving and increasing possessions. Security, boundaries, and holding on to the familiar are very important to us in this context. During these days, we are strongly focused on our family and home, and the pleasures in all areas are offered take center stage. The moon in Taurus also means a conservative attitude, striving for harmony, a sense for beautiful forms, love for art and music, perhaps also enduring feelings, but these are also somewhat the negative aspects. Stubbornness or being stubborn. Yes, stubbornness. 1 is stubborn. Comfort, aversion. 2, change. Over. Sensitivity. On that day, as I mentioned, remember the day we have a tension aspect. This is a T-square. You can already see it. It's not as nice as I would like it to be because it's not really this T that you typically see in the radix actually. But it is a T-square. That's why I placed it like this. To the moon in Taurus. So we have the square as well. Where is the square? As mentioned, we first have the opposition between the two here. Then we also have the square, which simply comes along. From the moon to Pluto. The moon is already in Taurus. We have the square to Pluto. Pluto is in Aquarius at 3:15 p.m. This square can cause extreme emotional life and severe inhibitions. To trigger depression, tendencies, lack of direction, and low-level indulgences. So the lower kind. Then we actually have, shortly after, we also have, this is not completely at the same level and not at the same time. But this is the T-square that is simply there in a short time. Then we have the moon, square, to Mars. As mentioned, the moon is already in Taurus. We have the square to Mars, which is in Leo. This is then at 3:36 p.m., so almost 21 minutes later. This square could make us easily excited, quarrelsome, and especially hasty. I would say conflicts with the opposite sex are looming. Yes. Waste in... When it comes to financial matters, which often involve budgeting, saving, and investing, emotional suppression, characterized by holding back feelings and not expressing emotions openly, and moodiness, which can manifest as frequent changes in mood or emotional state, and passion, a strong and barely controllable emotion, can become noticeable. Not just any passion, but a deep, intense passion can become noticeable. A day full of events. I'm telling you how it is. It will be a very, very difficult day, because we simply have this constellation. We generally already have the opposition to Mars and Pluto. Then also the T-square to the moon, from Pluto to the moon, and from the moon, then also to Mars. Yes, on that day we have a new moon. Everything new again, hopefully. We then have the new moon in Taurus at 7 degrees at 9:31 p.m. Central European Time. That's in the evening for us in Germany. Prosperity in sight, the new moon in Taurus. Looking back, of course, the new moon in Aries is a very, very important new moon. Both the full moon in Libra and the new moon in Taurus will also be very important. I'll put it this way. As I said, towards the evening, maybe everything gets a bit stirred up. Emotions are governed by the new moon. Relationships are also running harmoniously. The feminine side is emphasized. So as I said, remember the day. I believe there might actually be a bit of tension even the day before. Everything starts quite early in the morning, as the universe knows no time. I am still telling you the times here, because we are actually here on the earth of time, are fixated. I am such a person. I always say I'll come at some point, or I say when I meet someone. Yes, at some point, like between this and that, or around, I might say in the evening now, around 8 p.m. And if I'm not there at 8 p.m., 1 minute you're late. I said I would come around 8 p.m. That can be earlier, but of course it can also be later. I am a very unpunctual person. In the past, I was always late. That was years ago. Always came late. By now, I actually have it pretty well under control. Under control, but indeed now with the retrogrades, I feel like I'm falling back into old patterns. Yes. And I want to work on that again this month, so that everything returns to its usual routine. Also here on YouTube, I haven't released the April forecast yet. I'm just doing it now. The astrological forecast. I actually wanted to have it finished on the last day of the month. Don't ask me, I don't understand it. I feel like I'm currently chasing time. Yes. Still remember the day. As I said, the day will resonate. So it will probably wind down by the evening because we will simply have the new moon then. New moon energies are those where we are on the verge of a new beginning, where we might want to focus on starting something new. It can be an action-packed day, it can really be explosive, the day. Nevertheless, it can also end well towards the end. Still remember the day, it won't be without its challenges. Let's put that aside for now and focus on the beautiful things in life. We then have on the 30th April, which is the last day of the month, but I'll get to that in a moment. I have to quickly search for everything I don't have and can't find, and search again and want to find again. I've already found the Aries. I'm looking for Venus. So, we have on the 30th, April, the entry of Venus back into Aries. That means Venus goes back over 0 degrees. Aries. Again, the theme of a new beginning. The Aries has said goodbye. Venus is from the 30th April. It goes at 7:09 p.m. Central European Time, which is in the evening for us in Germany, until the 6th June, 6. As long as it is, again, it has become direct this month, then also, or will be moving directly. Depending on when you watch the video, it goes into Aries. That means the fiery energy is back again. When Venus enters Aries, we tend to seek adventure. We are impulsive, with a passionate way of loving overcoming us. Logically, this can also lead to revisiting old connections. During this time, we also love all beautiful things and are interested in everything artistic. Everyone has their own preferences, their own loves, everything that comes our way. I would actually say what we find beautiful, especially Venus energy. By the way, on that day, now also on the 30th of April is Walpurgis Night. This is the dance into May as we know it. I will make another video about it when the dear ones, let me check quickly. We have the 30th April. That's a Wednesday. I will in fact make a Walpurgis video. It will also come a day or two earlier. Remember Monday, maybe even Sunday. I don't know yet. The video will come a few days earlier. And I will go live again on the 30th. Come live again in April. I have to work until the evening, but I will go live afterwards. Maybe a Q&A or maybe a little something else. Talk about something. No idea. But I definitely plan to go live that evening. I will tell you more about it then. Yes, the Witch's Night. I don't want to mention it much here. I will mention it in the video when the time comes. Let's return to the path here. April. As I said, Venus in Aries is very supportive for all Aries, for everyone else. Venus in Aries is actually very very self-centered, focused on the self. It's about what I want, I think. That's probably exactly the theme. What I want and who I want to be and where. Maybe also in relationships and where we maybe also want to become better. We want to be new, and there's just such a new, strong energy that will emerge. And I believe only I can, since I am me. I can embody that better. Let's put it that way. This realization, what do I need to do for it? What is important? Where can I give myself more self-love? Also, these topics again here, because once again, it's this typical fighter energy, standing up only for oneself, fighting for oneself. Where can I give myself more self-love? Self-worth topics are also a very, very important issue. Yes, this is at the end of the month where we will gain more clarity. When Venus actually moves back into Aries, I have this feeling here. It will be a very exciting month, my dear ones, where we gain more clarity. And yes, also this fire supporting energy. I have this feeling here to simply take these bold steps. Then also, these are things where you really have to look at the horoscope. Where do you have Aries? Energy, where do you have these big new chapters that want to begin? Where are perhaps also these challenges from Pluto, which is currently bringing about your transformation a bit? These transits are always a bit more challenging than some others. But I believe that these are the only transits that have a bit of conflict potential, I would say, on those days. Otherwise, I believe that April brings us much more forward movement. Simply because we still have the direct motion, because we gain more clarity, even if the urge to act. I believe it only starts to spread a bit towards the end of the month with the ability to move forward with actions. That's what I also see here. And what I have also felt and perceived. Yes, these fish energy too, at the beginning of the month. So these first 2 weeks, Pisces is still in Venus and in Mercury and also still in Saturn. These are very, 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 very karmic, mystical, influenced things that are simply there. They are fateful, but they can also bring about miracles. So I wouldn't say that it's only about losses here, because we've worked so much on it in the past. And yes, we've worked so much on it. Truly magical things can happen. In April, with Pisces, it's always about miracles. It's also always about healing. That means the support you need, the money you're waiting for, maybe even the person you're meant to meet. All of this can happen with this Pisces energy. As I said, it's about miracles. It's about healing. It's also about miraculous healing, perhaps, or even sudden healing. Suddenly the money was gone and suddenly the money was back. And suddenly this person came into your life. Suddenly the wish you sent out came true. If we are ready to open ourselves to it, the universe can certainly bring us some miracles in April. Indeed, some miracles. And that's what I believe in. And I must honestly say, I am indeed with the star energy. The first thing I see here is the moon. Okay? I am definitely with the star energy, and I want to show you 3 decks now. I already had this in mind during the preparation, and I am definitely still with the star energy. And I actually want to find them for you. If I can find them. Here we have the star energy, and I will show you the city once again from the other deck, which I have here. I hope everything goes a bit faster here. I don't feel like pausing the video, so it just has to work. Like this now. If you don't want to see this, feel free to skip ahead. It's always the last card, no matter which side I go from, that is not it. Where were we? Did we leave off? At the star. What wish have you sent, or what wish have you not yet sent that you are allowed to send? This is the classic card of the star or star, representing wish fulfillment and renewal. What I just talked about, self-worth issues. Where do you give yourself more self-love? Where are you allowed to give yourself even more self-love? And this is in this deck, the Natural and Shadow Dream, the German version as well. There is also an English version where one still holds on to this wish. Let it go, send it off. Again, if we are ready to open ourselves to it, the universe can certainly do so in April as well. Prepare some miracles. Prepare some wishes. And that is what I believe in. And we also simply have these intense energies that are just there. In April, that they're really, yes, one or the other miracle can happen for one or the other. Are you ready for your miracle? Are you ready to hear? Are you ready to see and to believe and to trust? Instead of necessarily knowing how it must continue, rather come into the now and enjoy as long as you still can. And as long as you don't have to do anything yet, or rather, I will hold back a little longer. It might also be held back, just that we don't have to take action yet. Just as I said, send it off, be ready, or stay in trust. As I said, rather come into the now and enjoy it just as it simply is. We are supported here in all these processes. This is spiritual and divine as well, and also cosmically guided. And that's why this prediction for you, that you find trust in yourself, trust in what is coming and going and happening right now. What should everything be like? So stay in trust. And I say again, are you ready? Now for your miracles that want to come true. My dear ones, I always feel that the astrological predictions, when I make them, are very confusing. But looking back, or what does looking back mean? Looking forward. When I then watch the video, it doesn't look as bad as when I record it. Indeed, it always seems like such a mess, but this perspective is simply better. Because I have more space. I would say I'm done here. I'm also finished with the astrological forecast for April 2025. Yes, it actually took a bit longer this time, my dear one. And watch it. Yes, remember, this one. Save it. And check back during April. In retrospect, also in May, perhaps. As I said, now look back at February and March. I always put a lot of effort into these videos. And I would, of course, be happy if you would support me, if you would like my channel, comment, and also subscribe. Now I was at a loss. Subscribe. If you activate the bell, you won't miss any more videos here. What I upload here, you will be automatically notified. Of course, you can also share it with friends or with whoever you want to share it with. This way I grow. This way we can grow together and also reach other people. As I said, share it with those who should also see it, who should also reach it. And yes, my dear ones, I truly wish you a wonderful April here. Make something out of it. As already mentioned, there will be a few days that are not so easy, but overall, I hope at least April will also, as I said, towards the end, then ultimately really towards the end, then also end very positively. And I believe May will be a completely different story, especially when Saturn moves into winter. I am very curious to see how it will be. My dear ones, I wish you a wonderful April. Feel free to check out the April reading. I will, once the video is out, also start directly with the monthly reading for April. As I said, this time I'm really running behind, and I also feel it's due to the retrogrades. Maybe you agree with me and it's the same for you. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. And I'm trying to get everything done for you as quickly as possible so you have everything available. And yes, I'm looking forward to the upcoming time with you. I wish you once again a wonderful April. All the best to you, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.